Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli, with another episode of the podcast dedicated to your Colorado Avalanche. And we have hit that time of the season or off season where not a lot is going to be going on between now and training camps. We had a really good week with the expansion draft and then the prospect draft, and then free agency. And now we hit kind of a dead area. You'll get some signings maybe here or there, some depth moves, which the Avalanche have done. Maybe there's a move or two out there, maybe in a trade, but it likely won't include the Avalanche. You might get something, with Jack Eichel going somewhere, like maybe. But when it comes to the Avalanche, I think they're pretty much done. You might see, I think the only name out there for Avalanche fans to maybe have some interest over is Tomas Tatar. He seems to be the name that's left that has any relevance to the Avalanche, but it's possible. And if they don't do it, then like we've been saying, it's pretty much done with for the Avalanche until training camp starts. So with that, we will move down to 3 shows per week for the month of August, and then probably half of September. So we'll be doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday shows. You can still catch me on the national show, which will be Thursday, because that will still be 5 days a week. But in terms of the Avalanche show, we'll be doing it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if anything major happens that just can't wait, I can throw a show in there. If it happens on a recording day on a Monday for a Tuesday show, I can do that if I want to. So it's not just set in stone. If something major happens, then I'll record a special episode that just can't wait. If it's an off day, I'll do it. But for now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So with that, we will we'll kind of do some fun things in the off season. Like today, I figured we would, definitely talk about Tyson Jost, because we didn't get a chance to talk about that. I still have a few season grades to get to. We'll do Val Nichushkin today. And then because I'm big into movies and television, stuff like that, anything that I may have watched, I'll talk about it here. Why not? I've done that with Kyle in the past. We did a separate podcast where we kind of combined hockey and kind of entertainment. And because he's off doing his wonderful Puckberg show, we don't have a lot of time to do that anymore. So I figured in the off season, why not do it? And today I figured, why not talk about, there's a Woodstock 99 documentary that just came out on HBO Max, which I have a lot of things to say about Woodstock in general. So we'll get to that a little bit later. But first things first, follow the show on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Send any questions, comments, concerns, opinions to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And like I said, thank you to the Twitter folk, or excuse me, the YouTube folk, because we now have our YouTube channel up and running. So just go to YouTube and search for Locked On Avalanche and subscribe to that as well, so you get notified when all of these new shows go live. So we'll start with the Avalanche news, and that is Tyson Jost getting a 2-year, $4 million deal. You don't have to be good at math to figure out that is $2 million average annual value. And that's obviously an increase from what he had last year, which was, I don't remember the exact amount, $800,000. He didn't hit $1 million. But now he gets bumped up to $2 million per year, AAV obviously. And it's a 2-year deal. So when this is over, he is still a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. So is this another, okay, you proved it to us once because we gave you a 1-year deal, and you proved it, and you forced, not, well, forced us is a bad phrase, but he caused the Avalanche to protect him in the expansion draft, and you are rewarded for it with a 2-year deal. You still haven't, gotten to that level of, we are going to lock you up long term. So because he's only 23 years old, the Avalanche throw out a 2-year deal. When he's done with that, he's still a restricted free agent, and the Avs can see what after that. I mean, if you go 1 year, 2-year, you can't go a 1 year because, I don't know why he would agree to that. But you kind of, I feel like the Avalanche think they will have a much more of a firm grasp on Tyson Jost after 2 years. He's continued to take steps and progress. And after another 2 years, will he be the player that he was this past year, or will he continue to amp it up a little bit more and a little bit more? If he does, then they sign him to, who knows, a 3-year deal. Maybe they go 1, 2, and then 3. The way things are going with Joe Sakic and the Avalanche, they're hesitant to give guys outside of your Mikko Rantanens and Gabe Landeskog's and soon to be Nathan MacKinnon's anything really long term. And there's some reasons for that right now. Right now, it's because there's a flat cap. You don't know where you're going to be in a couple years when the cap increases, which is not going to be much. It might be, I think it's going to be like $1 million for when it does increase. That's at least what I'm hearing. In a sense, is that another flat cap? I mean, $1 million is $1 million. So you'll have a little bit more flexibility, but everything is lining up for the Avalanche to make sure they are in position to give Nathan MacKinnon a massive deal. Everything. Go look at their cap friendly webpage, just capfriendly.com/avalanche. Everything with the exception of Landeskog, Makar, the big names, Landeskog, Makar, Rantanen, Girard. Here, I have it up here. Outside of those guys, we have, all right. Rantanen, Landeskog, Makar, Girard, Taves. That is it. After that, excluding your entry level contract guys, you have nothing. So they are making sure when that season comes around 2 years from now, the first thing they take care of is Nathan MacKinnon. And I would just absolutely find it hysterical if Nathan MacKinnon, when he made that comment, I don't remember, it was a year and a half ago now, that he would take less money again, to make sure the Avs have some cap space. I would just absolutely, because we're all just assuming, and understandably so, that Nathan MacKinnon is going to cash in big time, 10, 11. I don't think they go 12, but would it surprise me? No. Is he deserving of that? Sure. He will be in the $10 to $11 million range, and everybody assumes that. But how great would it be if Nathan MacKinnon came out and said, I told you guys I was going to take less, and he signs something for like exactly the same amount of money, maybe bump him up to an even 7. So him and Gabe Landeskog are on the same page, on the same level. I don't see him doing that. And that's been that those comments, I don't think are going to come back to haunt him. I don't think Joe Sakic is going to sit there and said, you said, I think they're both going to laugh at it and say, yeah, ha 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 ha. Here's your contract for 8 years, 11 per. So, but Nathan MacKinnon is built kind of different. Would it surprise me if he did come out and say, no, sign me to the same thing and go sign some other guys so I can win a Stanley Cup? That might be another big player, is if he has won a Stanley Cup. If he hasn't won one and he likes it in Colorado, which he clearly seems to like it, love it here, maybe he does say, keep my number low because I need to win a cup here. I think the percentages of that are like 1%. But if he does win one, he's like, all right, I still want to stay here, but now you got to pay me because I won you a cup at a great rate. But we won one. So now I'm going to get a little bit selfish. But for Tyson Jost, I think it's a good deal. I think, congratulations to him on getting a little bit of an increase. And now you have 2 more years to prove that you can get an increase after that. So we shall see what Tyson Jost, how he responds to getting another contract with the Avalanche. Granted, only 2 years, but an increase for him nonetheless. All right, what do we got? We're gonna get to one of our sponsors for the day. Oh, and I did throw out another poll question, which maybe I'll get to later if I have time. About the Olympics, which is always an interesting question about a specific medal. But first, we are going to get to betonline.ag. It's the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your sports action. Baseball season, it's in full swing, and you can track all of the action at BetOnline. Get all the latest news, odds, and info for all of your sporting needs, including baseball, basketball, hockey, and UFC MMA. Before the next pitch, head over to BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device. Check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the games as teams prep for their runs to the playoffs. Head over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up, and when you do, you will receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit with the promo code LOCKEDON. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, so we got back into the season grades because things were just, it was really busy for the Avalanche, obviously, with the 2 drafts and free agency. So we kind of took a little bit of break from the season grades, and we continue on. A few more to go, and once again, we're doing these alphabetically. So Val Nichushkin is up for his season grade, and the votes are in, and we have 28% with an A, 57% with a B, 14% with a C, and 1% of the funny people with a D or an F. And we do have a couple comments here. Rebecca, who always gets into these polls and always has really good things to say. She said, especially in the playoffs, Nichushkin gave his heart and soul on every single shift. I felt bad for him when we were eliminated because he did everything in his power to win every game in that series. I feel like the rest of the team let him down. That's, I think, like a lost thing. Like whenever a team of the Avalanche caliber lose, everybody looks to the superstars, Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. And those are the guys that they always show first on screen when the clock strikes 0. You show the team that won first and them celebrating. And then the first shot that cuts to the losing team is always the superstars. And I get that. So it's, you're always thinking about those guys, and Nathan McKinnon and his comments afterwards. He's been in the league for so long and hasn't won, what. Those are the headline comments, and those are the headline moments when look at Connor McDavid. But there's a roster full of guys on this team that are trying just as hard to win a championship. And she makes a very good point here about how Nichushkin is one of those guys. Did the rest of the team let him down? I mean, I would. You could just say the whole team let everybody down. I don't think he's any less let down than anybody else on that team. But how she's phrasing that is true. He plays. It's odd because he plays hard, obviously, but he just makes it look so, because he's so tall and lanky and his strides are so big. it just seems a little bit effortless for him. But you can see it when he's on a forecheck. Like he just takes up so much space that you almost feel like it's just so easy for him, but it's not. Like he is working his butt off. He really is. So I agree with that. He does. He gives his heart and soul on every single shift. That's I think that's just the way he plays. And Jordan is the other one, Avs fan 2909. He says he gives Nichushkin a B. He proved himself to be a good middle six forward and a solid 200-foot player. He does a lot of the little things so well that don't always get recognized. And I've been saying that about him for the entire season. He's not a stat sheet guy. He'll get you those points, that overtime goal. Like he'll do things like that, and he can barrel into you. And you see plays like that, and you're like, man, like why can't he do that all the time? Like he's built different. Like he's not going to play that way all the time. Let me get my overlay up here. There you go. Because he's out there to do different things. He's not going to take over the game. That's not what he's out there to do. He's a great defensive forward, and that's what they need him to. If he gets an opportunity, he's going to take it. And sometimes he takes those opportunities and he runs with them. But you're not going to look at a stat sheet and really get the whole story on Val Nichushkin and how Jordan says it. He's a 200-foot player, and that is absolutely true. And he's a big guy. He's a big body. But you would like him to be a little bit more physical considering his size. But he's not that way. He's kind of like a gentle giant in a way. He's not going to back down. Most of these Avalanche players are not going to back down. But he is not like a bull in a china shop like, Kadri would be. But he is going to give you everything he's got. So for me, I would say this is one of those hovering on B minus C pluses, but I think I would have to go with a B for Nichushkin on the season. I think he's deserving of it. And he's another guy that we were kind of thrown around hovering on. Is he going to be protected or not in the expansion draft? And as the year went on and things kind of unfolded, seemed like it was a no-brainer that he was going to be a protected player, and he was. So he's got, I think, one more year left. Let me see. I know he's at 2.5. Yeah, he's got one more year left at 2.5, and then he is unrestricted. And if he has another season like the last two that he's had with the Avalanche, he has reinvigorated his career. He was left on the doorstep by Dallas, and they didn't want anything to do with him. They really did not give him a proper chance. And the Avalanche said, we will. Let's see what you can do. And he has taken it and run with it. So, if he can have a season similar to what he had last year, and you would have to think he might even improve on it. Now he's going into year 3 with the Avalanche. He is much more comfortable. So, the wheels are off for him. And I think he's not going to hold back or be bashful in, when he's out there on a shift. He knows what's expected of him, and now he can do it more comfortably. He knows he has the backing of his coach and his players. So I think you're going to have a really good season, a really improved season from Nichushkin next year. And then you're going to have teams calling. You really are. And do the Avalanche, they're going to be in a tough spot next year with how much money they want to give out to players. Is he one of those guys? 2.5 right now? Where's he going to, if we're assuming he's going to have a pretty good season, he goes up from there. Do the Avalanche want to throw out money? I think they'll be okay with the money side, but a lot of the reasons why the Avalanche didn't sign guys like Grubauer and Saad was term. So if he's going to want to stick around for 5 or 6 years, the Avalanche aren't going to touch that. Can they give him another 2 or 3 year deal? I think the Avalanche would sign that now. So, yeah, I think a B is a good grade for Nichushkin, and kind of excited to see what he can do next year for the Avs. All right, let's hear from Built Bar, and then we'll get into some Woodstock stuff. So, Built Bar, it is the best tasting protein bar on the market, but you already know that. But did you know that Built Bar has many different delicious flavors, so much so that there is something for everybody. Everybody who likes Built Bar has their own favorite. So why don't you order them and find out which one is yours? Some of the flavors you can get are coconut, raspberry, mint brownie, salted caramel, cookies and cream. They do have some peanut butter ones, which you know are my favorites. So if you haven't tried them, you can get a mixed box where you can get 2 of each of the 9 regular flavors. And not only are Built Bar flavors the best tasting, but they are healthy for you too. They have 17 to 18 grams of protein. Calories range from 130 to 180. Only 4 to 5 grams of sugar and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. And Built Bar is the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team. Go to BuiltBar.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you get 15% off of your order. Once again, that promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. All right. Excuse me. Like I said, because it's the off season, we'll be going into different things and why not the world of entertainment and any interesting movies or trailers. I love trailers. And I'll throw it out to you right now. Well, if you haven't heard of the newest Nicolas Cage movie called Pig, I would definitely push you to go watch that trailer. I haven't seen the movie is getting rave reviews. And it's literally about Nicolas Cage, who is a former chef who is now living the minimalist life in the woods somewhere, and he has a truffle pig. I knew there were truffle dogs, but I didn't know there were truffle pigs. And his truffle pig gets kidnapped, and he's trying to find his truffle pig. It looks awesome. I love movies like that. But there's also another movie that's coming out called Lamb. Just go watch that trailer. I don't know if this is a new fad, if we're just going to start doing movies based on animals. I don't know what's next. Maybe llama. But there's if Pig and Lamb are not a double feature at a drive-in movie theater, we're doing something wrong. We need to open up a drive-in movie theater just to have those two as a double feature. And maybe just not show anything else ever, because those two are made for each other. But go check those 2 trailers out. Those are really good. But my wife and I, we watched the documentary for Woodstock 99. And for those of you, the younger crowd listening to the show that maybe wasn't born for Woodstock 99, that was my senior year of high school. And growing up where I did in New York, I was about an hour away where they held that in Rome, New York. And I was a little bit more towards Albany. And I can't remember why I didn't go, but my brother went. My brother, who's a year and a half older than me, and he went with like 2 or 3 of his friends. So I had the opportunity to take it. I don't know why. I can't remember that far back as to why I didn't go. Maybe I just knew what was going to happen, or I thought I knew what was going to happen, but I don't think anybody expected for it to go down the road that it actually went. And if you have HBO Max, I would recommend it. It's one of the better music. It's not my favorite music documentary. There's a music documentary out there called Muscle Shoals, which is probably the best music documentary I've ever seen. This is up there. It's part of Bill Simmons, who did the HBO, the ESPN 30 for 30 documentaries. He's doing this for HBO, and it's kind of in that realm. This was a 2-hour documentary, so it's not 30. Well, no, not all the 30 for 30 minutes, but it's, I think, like 6 different episodes, and each one is going to be something different about the music industry. So this one was obviously Woodstock 99. And in talking to my brother, like, there were a lot of good things that happened at Woodstock 99. The documentary is going to focus in on the bad stuff, and that, because that overrides anything good that happened at Woodstock 99. At Woodstock 94 seemed like there was much more of a calm. Well, I mean, there was the Mud People and stuff there, and they did have heavy bands, but they really amped it up at 99 with bands like Limp Bizkit and Korn. I know Metallica was there. They had your Woodstocky type of bands with Alanis Morissette was there. Dave Matthews Band was there. So during the day, it was music wise what you wanted Woodstock to be. It didn't take away from the heat. It being at an old Air Force base, you are completely exposed to the sun, which that was the hottest weekend of the summer. Water was difficult to come by. The porta-johns were overflowed within hours. It was overall a disaster. And then everything just culminated in, the youth, the frat boy mentality, just to set fire to everything, and completely inappropriate behavior when it came to women. That is what the documentary focuses on. The bands like Limp Bizkit, who just did nothing to calm everybody down. Why would they? And I think the documentary tries to place blame a lot on, or they don't try to place blame. They try to, they talk to people who want to place blame in different spots. They talk to the promoters who want to place the blame on the bands, and then the bands want to place blame on the promoters, when in reality, it's both their faults. The promoters, it's their fault, because what the heck are you expecting when you have something called Woodstock and you're booking bands like that, like Limp Bizkit, Korn, even Rage Against the Machine. And I'm a huge Rage Against the Machine fan. Tom Morello is, in my opinion, the greatest guitarist out right now. But is that a Woodstock band? No, they can go somewhere else. Even Metallica, even Megadeth was there. Not associated really with Woodstock. So promoters are at fault, and then sure, the bands are at fault for like guys like Durst for not wanting to calm the crowd down. So it does a lot of trying to finger point, and the fingers are just going in all different directions when it's like everybody is at fault here, including the crowd. And because of that, there's been no Woodstockies since. They tried to do one a couple years ago for a 50th anniversary, and it fell through. It has a bad name now. The Woodstock brand is, sullied for forever. And it's not because of, what happened in 69, even though that didn't go off all that great. We want to look back on 1969 Woodstock and think that it was this momentous thing. And it was, in terms of what it was trying to accomplish, but they had a lot of problems in 1969. I would say 1994 was probably the most well-run Woodstock. And no doubt about it, that 99 is the worst. So if you're a younger crowd, and you kind of want to see where things went wrong with the music industry, because that was a time when, the teeny boppers like your Britney Spears and NSYNC and Backstreet Boys were starting to take over. And, the early 20 somethings were not happy about that. So the bands that they had to hang their hat on were bands like Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock, which were the complete opposite, angry at everything. And it culminated in hundreds of thousands of them getting together and setting a place on fire. It's pretty sad. It's, because like I said, there were moments where it was what a Woodstock should be, but it was just poorly planned, poorly run. 3 total female acts, one for each day, and it's like, oh, we do that just so we have our quota, just to get one female act in there each day. It was a greedy money grab, and let's just get the big names of this era and just throw them out there, and we'll just slap Woodstock on it because we know that'll draw people, and it did. So go check it out. It's on HBO Max. It's enjoyable. So I'll get to my Olympic question for Wednesday, because I do want to talk about that, because I think that's a really entertaining question. So I had people vote on it. You can't vote on it anymore, so you'll have to wait until the Wednesday show to find out what that is. So that will be it for today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back on Wednesday, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram for anything that might be happening. And then for Wednesday's show, we'll talk about it. So that's going to be it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Always appreciated. We'll see you on Wednesday. Here's Joby.